5. Excavation below grade. Any part of the bottom of the trench excavated below the limits specified in section 3(1) d, grade of trench bottom, shall be corrected with approved material and compacted as directed. If excessive over-excavation occurs, except at bell holes, the grade shall be restored in accordance with the methods described in section 3a. 6. Unstable conditions at grade. 6. Unstable conditions at grade. Where the bottom of the trench at grade is found to be unstable or to include ashes, cinders, any type of refuse, vegetable or other organic material, or large pieces of fragments or inorganic materials which in the judgment of the engineer should be removed, excavate and remove such unsuitable material to the width and depth directed. Before the pipe is laid, the grade shall be restored by backfilling with an approved material in layers of 3 in. Prior to compaction, the layers shall be slightly moistened and thoroughly compacted so as to provide a uniform and continuous bearing and support for the pipe at every point between bell or collar holes. The finished grade shall be accurately graded to provide uniform bearing and support for each section of pipe at every point along its entire length except for the portions of the pipe sections where it is necessary to excavate for bell holes and for the proper seating of pipe joints. 7. Trench excavation protection. All trench excavation required on this project shall be accomplished as required by the provisions of item 402, trench excavation protection. 8. Caution in excavation. The contractor shall proceed with caution in the excavation and preparation of the trench so that the exact location of underground structures and utilities may be determined whether shown on the plans or not. Machine excavation is not permitted closer than 12 in. On either side of other existing underground utilities. The contractor shall be responsible for the repair of such structures and utilities when broken or damaged. He is also to be responsible for adjusting alignment and trench grades with reference to such structures in order to obtain specified clearance for the water main construction. Whenever the engineer determines that it is necessary to explore and excavate to determine the location of existing underground structures and utilities, the contractor shall make explorations and excavations for such purposes at his expense. 9. Protection and restoration of underground structures and facilities. The contractor shall furnish temporary support, adequate protection, and maintenance of all underground and surface structures, drains, sewers, and other obstructions encountered in the progress of the work. All underground structures and utilities which are disturbed shall be restored by the contractor at his expense. Materials and methods used for restoration shall be in accordance with the City Code of San Antonio, Texas for building, electrical, and plumbing and the requirements of the utility agency involved. In the event that a sanitary sewer is broken by the contractor's operations, the release of sewage into the trench shall be immediately intercepted by the insertion of a section of sheet metal tubing known as a tin horn between the broken ends of the sewer. All leakage at the ends of the tin horn shall be effectively stopped. The tin horn shall remain in place until such time as permanent repairs can be made. It shall be the responsibility of the contractor to determine sufficiently in advance of his trenching operations the size of all sanitary sewer lines and services which will require this treatment. All sanitary sewer lines crossing the excavation, whether bridged or replaced, are to have proper support consisting of sound timber supports having a minimum 2 inches nominal thickness and a minimum 6 inches nominal width placed with the width horizontal and extending a minimum of 12 inches into the trench wall on either side. In all cases where a sewer pipe is replaced or bridged, the backfill material shall be thoroughly compacted to the bottom of the pipe and compacted by hand from this point to a distance of 6 inches above the top of the sewer line being replaced. The locations of all sewer lines crossing excavations, whether replaced or bridged, shall be properly marked, and care shall be taken to avoid damage to the pipe through the use of a hydro-tamping machine or other mechanical equipment. The contractor shall be liable for the failure of such lines due to negligence or poor workmanship. 10. Backfill material derived from excavation. All excavated materials deemed suitable for reuse as trench backfill shall be separated where practicable from the general excavation material, or as directed. 11. Pavement. Remove pavement and surfaces as a part of the trench excavation. Removal of pavement and surfaces and their restoration shall be based on the minimum trench widths as specified in Table 2, trench width, plus 6 inches, or as otherwise provided herein. Use such methods as sawing, drilling, or chipping to assure the breaking of the pavement along straight lines. If pavement or surfaces beyond the limits specified above are removed or damaged, such pavement and surfaces shall be restored at the expense of the contractor. Where water line construction necessitates cutting through existing streets outside the limits of new street construction, said streets shall be replaced in kind as directed. Where it is necessary to maintain traffic across a trench, install temporary metal bridges as necessary to facilitate the movement of traffic. The street surface adjacent to the trench shall be kept free of surplus spoil. Construction materials shall be placed at locations that will minimize interference with the traveling public. 12. Concrete sidewalks, driveways, etc. All concrete sidewalks, driveways, etc. shall be cut with a concrete saw. When transverse expansion or dummy joints are encountered, the concrete shall be removed to the nearest transverse joint on each side of the trench and restored. The depth of cut shall be such that upon removal of the concrete, the sides of the cut shall be straight and square. Existing reinforcing wire fabric or bars shall be cut and removed to permit completion of trench excavation, pipe laying, and backfill operations. When the backfill operations have been completed, the existing reinforcement shall be replaced in its original position and satisfactorily spliced prior to the replacement of concrete over the new trench alignment. Transverse dummy joints shall be made by a jointing tool or other means acceptable, and are to match in depth and thickness in the existing transverse joints. Expansion joint material shall be provided where new construction abuts the existing curb or driveway if the engineer deems it necessary. Concrete shall be spaded, tamped, and thoroughly compacted until mortar entirely covers the surface and has a monolithic finish. The top surface shall be floated, troweled, and finished to match the existing concrete surface. Immediately after finishing, the concrete surface shall be protected by a membrane compound curing agent, or by wetted cotton or burlap mats. Either method shall be subject to approval. B. Pipe laying. 1. General requirements. Start the work at a tie-in point, unless otherwise indicated on the plans. Pipe shall be laid with bell ends facing the direction of laying, unless otherwise authorized or directed. Under no circumstances is pipe to be laid in water, and no pipe shall be laid under unsuitable weather or trench conditions. All valves and fire hydrants must be installed as soon as pipe laying reaches their established location. Pipe shall be installed to the required lines and grades with fittings, valves, and hydrants placed at the required locations. Spigots shall be centered in bells or collars, all valves and hydrant stems shall be set plumb, and fire hydrant nozzles are to face as shown on the plans or as directed. No valve or other control on the existing system shall be operated for any purpose by the contractor unless approved. Maintain a neat and orderly work area. Complete cleanup shall be maintained at all times as closely behind the pipe laying operations as possible, but in no case is such cleanup be permitted to lag more than 1,000 feet behind the pipe laying, unless otherwise directed. 2. Crossing other underground lines. New water mains crossing other utilities are to have a minimum of 24 inches of cover over the top of the pipe unless otherwise waived or modified. Excavation around other utilities shall be done by hand for at least 12 inches all around. Any damage to the protective wrap on gas lines or electrodes shall be reported immediately to the gas company. 3. Pipe grade. Pipe grades shall be as required on the plans, or as directed. Grades shall be met as specified by Subarticle 3A, Excavation. Care shall be taken to ensure that the pipe barrel has uniform contact with the bedding material for its full length except at couplings. The coupling is not to be in contact with the original trench bottom prior to backfill. Bedding material shall be placed under the coupling and compacted by hand prior to backfilling so as to provide an even bearing surface under the coupling and pipe. To ensure an even bearing, a straight edge shall be used to check the grade for each joint of pipe before the pipe is placed in the trench. Change in grade shall be made only at joints.